Thank you for all of you standing here, coming in today to help us with this press release and make sure that we're getting information out to the public. I think one of the biggest challenges has been our ability to get out on a regular enough basis to address the issues, from a combination of lost power, TV stations going down, radio stations going down. And if you don't have power, it's pretty hard to follow social media. So our apologies for our ability to get out as often, as frequently as perhaps the public would like us in terms of the level of communication. But we are here today to talk about the water situation and the water crisis. Certainly the power issues have been problematic enough, and most of those issues have been out of our control because we do not control power. But water is part of the infrastructure that citizens expect the city to provide. And when we can't provide it to certain areas of the city or provide limited amounts of water, the citizens do deserve answers and explanations. It still does not mean we will be able to get water to all those issues or areas, but I think you need to understand to a greater extent what is going on. There are those of you who have had water the whole week, and there are those of you who have had some water, low pressure, but there are many of you, including 2,500 households, that have not had any water. Of the 95 households, there are about 1,000 of those that are apartment dwellers, but that's a large number of people who have had to live without something that is expected on a day in and day out basis. It is our responsibility, and it is our responsibility to communicate what the issues are. We do not have water leaks. The areas where we've had water lines break have been fixed, and we do not have a major water leak as far as we know or can tell. So what is the situation is that it means that the water tanks have not built up the pressure that is needed to ensure that all areas of this town have received water. And that means the upper bluff areas, their tank is empty because there's not been enough pressure to put water into those tanks. And what has happened is we start to build up some water pressure during the day, and then during the night, when it should continue to build up for the next day, we're having to gain water back. We're not getting anywhere on building up water pressure. And so today we're here to talk to citizens, those of you who do have water. What we are asking is that citizens do the following things. Many of you might not know that your water sprinkler systems are broken and leaking water. You need to make sure your sprinkler systems are turned off. You might have a next door neighbor who is not in their home. Please check to see if you can see water running from their homes, as they might not know they have a broken water line. If you can, walk up and down your block to check to see if there's water running into the streets from houses. Of course, it makes it a little more difficult right now because snow is melting, and some of that snow melt might look like water leaks, and it's not. We know there are houses with water line breaks, and we've received many phone calls from people to ask that we turn the meter off at their house to stop the water. We will continue to ask that you do that. Allison will give you that number to call to report those water leaks. We've gotten many complaints from people concerning the car washes and why we have not shut those down. Most car washes do reuse their water. The amount of water they're using is small compared to the residential use. 70% of the water use in this city is residential, not commercial. 70% is residential. But I also have to say the following: the reason car washes are open, customers are using them. So we're asking customers, please stop taking your vehicles to the car washes. Having a clean car right now does not seem to be on the highest tier of helping our neighbors and our friends and our families in terms of getting to them the water that they need. We are asking that customers take quick showers, not hot baths. We are asking that you shampoo your hair, I know many of you might shampoo your hair every day. We ask that you not do that. And if you are shampooing your hair, please don't let the water run while you massage the shampoo into your hair. These are simple, they're so simple, but they're necessary because those of us and many of you who have water, need to do what we can to ensure the tanks fill to get water to the other areas of town. Check on your neighbors. If you have a swimming pool, certainly the pumps have to run to keep the water circulating so the swimming pool does not freeze. But if it's on autofill, turn the autofill off so it's not constantly refilling to a standard level. I know many of you have gone to the grocery stores and found the shelves empty. Our grocery stores are going through a lot of pain as well because their distribution channels and lines have been cut off. They're just now getting product back into their warehouses so those products can be distributed and trucked into our city. There are people that are asking why restaurants are not open, are being allowed to be open. Again, two things. One, the commercial businesses are a very small part of our total water usage. Two, shelves in the restaurants are empty. Many people don't have food in their houses. Many people emptied out their refrigerators because they lost power. People do need to eat, and the amount of water consumption in restaurants is small compared to the amount of water being utilized by our residential customers. And yes, I do own a restaurant, and we opened my restaurant up yesterday. People do not have food in their homes. The shelves in the grocery stores are empty. It looks like a war zone. So we also ask that when you go, please buy what you need. I know it's concerning because we don't want anybody hoarding the food. On the other hand, it's your responsibility to feed your family, so we get it. But we're asking for great passion and concern for our fellow citizens and neighbors and families. We really need all of your help in reducing this water consumption so that all citizens may get water to their homes. I have been in constant communication with our elected officials. They primarily are responsible to us as it relates to things like the power and ERCOT and AEP. Our elected officials are here to help us in whatever way that they can do and will do, and they've committed to me that whatever we ask and they can deliver and support us on, they will do that. We have worked with TDEM, Texas Department of Emergency Management, to secure water. We asked for 600,000 bottles of water 2 days ago. We got about 20% of that amount. In total, based off of the number of water that has been donated to this city through TDEM and other sources that we have, we've gotten 27,000 cases of water to date. That would be equivalent to 28 to 29 truckloads of water. We have put in requests for more water. We don't have answers yet in terms of when we will get the water and how much we will get, but we are in constant communication with people to get us more water. We've called the grocery stores. They're trying to put water on the shelves for customers, so their ability to support us at this point is slim. They have supported things like the firehouses, which need water, but they can't supply more than they have. So we're having to go to other areas for requests, and TDEM being one of the most important. Governor Abbott did declare an emergency, a state emergency to the federal government. President Biden today announced that all counties would not be included in this emergency declaration. And for most of us out here in the Permian Basin, including Tom Green County, have been denied federal assistance. That does not mean that we, the city, will not ask for financial support from the federal government, we will, and we will continue to pursue at all levels. Help financially. Most importantly, we need the water. We'll figure out the numbers later. We just want to get the water purchased or donated to take care of the citizens who need it. I'm going to have Allison update you on the water situation, but I think what I'll first do is have Shane Kelton talk about where we have water distribution centers set up.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have 5 sites set up for distribution for people to collect non-potable water to flush their toilets, especially in those areas that have little or no water currently at their homes. These sites are spread out kind of throughout the lake and Southland area of town. We have one location at Mary E. Lee Beach at Lake Nasworthy. We have another location at Lamar Elementary School up off Twin Mountain Drive and Southwest Drive. Another one at Bonham Elementary School off of Southland. Another one at the TLCA campus off of Melrose in the Lower Bluffs area. And then we also have one set up at San Angelo Stadium right off of the Johnson Street area. So again, if you need water to flush your toilets, this is non-potable. It's not drinkable. You cannot drink it. You cannot boil it and drink it. It is non-potable, but it is acceptable for use to flush toilets inside your household. So we're giving away up to 30 gallons per person that comes up to each one of these sites. So if you have enough containers that you can bring to carry 30 gallons of water, you can go to those sites and get up to 30 gallons of water to help you with those needs, flushing toilets or any other thing that does not involve human consumption. And we will answer any questions at the end of this. If you'll have any questions in regards to that, we'll answer that here in a minute.
I do want to acknowledge Billy DeWitt and Tommy Hebert. Their 2 districts are the districts that have the most customers without water, and they will be here to answer some specific questions or bring other issues up that they are experiencing, but they are here also to make sure their districts understand and know the information, and that we are addressing each question and each challenge as quickly as we possibly can. I'm going to have Allison come forward and share with us information that she has concerning the water.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to try to explain the best we can. I know there's a lot of people that are confused and they have questions about how our system operates, and I understand that completely. But what I will try to bring it to a level where everybody can understand, and that way we can all do our part so that we can begin filling tanks that ultimately feed this high plain, the bluffs, Bentwood, the Lake Nasworthy, and Southland areas. I do want to remind everyone that does have water that we are still under a boil water notice. So if you are going to be consuming that water, please boil it first. And you can see our website for what all needs to be done prior to consumption. So the night before last Thursday night, we had made some progress and it was looking very promising. But through Friday night, it wasn't the news that we had all hoped. And so I want to try to explain that. I know I have a graph here that I've tried to depict this, but ultimately this is levels that you see in one of our tanks, and this is one of the first few tanks that we do have to fill before we can begin filling the high plane tanks, such as the Bluffs tank. So you can see this is kind of earlier in the week when we started. We had lost water pressure through main breaks and people's usage, and we begin to build that tank level. So this is level in the tank. We begin to build that back up. This high point in the graph is what you see as Thursday night, where we had made the most progress we have all week. As the day goes along, Friday, we see that tank level drop. This is consumption, and that is causing this tank level to drop because we're keeping up with a flow rate. Up to this point, we'd been pushing 22 million gallons of water per day out of the plant. And then even with that high production, we see this coming down. Ultimately, what we want to do is keep stair-stepping this tank up. We want to keep these levels going up. But what this did Friday night was ultimately step down. So we did not even recover the levels in that tank as we had Thursday night. We do have to fill some of these tanks first before we can fill the Bluffs tank. We cannot just switch to that tank. It's a stepped process, so you have to go through step 1 to get through step 2. So I hope that kind of addresses those questions. One thing I want to stress is our usage and our customer. We do annual water use surveys, and very consistently throughout the historical years, 70% of our usage is residential consumption. This is not by meter count, this is by usage. So 70% of our usage in San Angelo is by residential customers. That's where we can have the biggest impact on our usage and reducing how much people consume and therefore raising this level in these tanks. You can see our commercial is 15%. Industrial is 4%, and institutional is 11%. Today, I know we did an update by the media earlier that we were upping our production. We have, last time I spoke with the water plant, we had ramped up to 25 million gallons per day of production, and we are keeping that flow rate, and we are seeing those tank levels coming up as we speak. But we don't want that progress to go back down. So we're still asking people to conserve, conserve, conserve. We do have plans throughout the day as these tank levels increase. Hopefully we can ramp up production somewhere around 27 million gallons per day of production. This is a very high flow rate that we normally see on very, very hot summer months. We do have basically some pressure that is able to bleed off of the low plane into the high plane. So there are some customers in the high plane that do have very, very low to little water pressure. We are seeing lots of customers calling in for leaks on their side, and we encourage people, if they cannot get their meter turned off themselves, to please call us. That number is 325-657-4295. This is the same number that you will also call if you see a main break. And we want to make sure that people also, just as the mayor described, we've got a lot of melting snow. If you see running water down a curb, please do not just automatically assume it is a main break. If you could, follow that trail back up the street or wherever it is. And if you see it as melting snow, please do not call that in. Our phones are ringing off the hook, and we want to make sure that we dedicate our crews to what is most important. So if you do see a main break, please call it in, and we will dispatch our crews. Luckily, as the snow has melted and temperatures have increased, we're not seeing as many main breaks as we had anticipated, but that can always change. It is gradually getting warmer, so we are managing the main breaks as they come in, but we have not seen some big leak. Excuse me. We do know that people are saying there's got to be a main break somewhere that you're just not seeing. I can tell you we've had city crews scouring this town looking for low water crossings for the water to be running, anywhere that this water could be going, and we are just not seeing it. So with that, I think we'll be happy to answer any questions the press may have.
Cami Simmons here from Fox West, Texas. And I know you all were talking about the car washes. We have a lot of viewers who are calling into our news station asking what's going to be done with the car washes. Specifically, is the city going to request for some of them to turn off their water? Or do you all know of some of those car washes that are already voluntarily turning off their water at this time?
Number one, we are requesting that car washes not operate. I repeat again that, of course, they operate because they have customers. We're asking customers to stop getting in line and getting your car washed. Many of the car washes have responded and have shut down, so they are joining the city in our efforts to get people their water back. We would like to request, and this is a request, that from 9 p.m. tonight until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, that citizens try not to use your water. And let's see if overnight that water starts to build in the tanks as we need it to be. So obviously we can't enforce that, we know that. It is a request from our citizens to help our friends, our families, and our neighbors so they can get water. It's a request. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm Mark Brown with KSAN News, and my question is, how long are we looking at for residents to be without water?
I'll let Allison speak to that.
It's very hard to establish a timeline when we have a moving target. Yesterday's projection would have looked a lot more positive than what today's does. So at the rate we're going, or at least from Thursday night to today, we were actually going the opposite direction of where we need to be going. So I realize not having an exact timeline is not desirable to our customers, but also it is highly dependent on how fast we can fill tanks and get pressure built up to the entire city. And so today we don't feel comfortable giving an exact timeline just because we have to gain back what we were on Thursday. We've got to make continual and steady progress to be able to establish timelines, and we can't be going in the opposite direction, and otherwise it keeps increasing that time.
Colin Murphy with Standard Times. My question is for the mayor. Do we know why we were denied inclusion in that federal declaration of emergency? I mean, do we know why, what criteria we didn't meet, or what the metrics were they used to not include us?
I talked to Drew Darby about 1 o'clock today, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and we talked through it. He said he doesn't have an answer for it. They're meeting on Thursday with the governor and other folks to try to work through this and figure it out. But if you look at the counties that were denied, it certainly would look like it's Permian Basin based. I can't tell you that's what he used. It just, if you look at the counties, when you look at Odessa, Midland, Abilene, San Angelo, Del Rio, Mertzon, one would start to feel that that would be attached somehow to the Permian Basin. Next question.
Manny Diaz with San Angelo Live. This one is for Ms. Struby. 21.5 million gallons per day is 2 times the normal flow. Is the city using the Hickory plant as well during this time?
Yes, currently our sources are the Hickory Groundwater Production Facility. We did lose power back during the ice storm with the Hickory, but we are powered back up and using that source. We are also using the Concho River, which is fed by Lake Nasworthy and Twin Buttes. OHIV is not online and available for our use at this time, and it hasn't been since October 15th. CRMWD, or Colorado River Municipal Water District, is doing maintenance on the tanks that feed that line. So we are on the Concho River and the Hickory to be able to deliver the 21.5 and the 25 million gallons that we are currently producing.
I have a question for the mayor. Thank you, Allison. Appreciate you on that. So are we kind of being tied in with the Permian Basin with this federal assistance, or I mean, do you even have an answer for that?
I don't. Drew Darby didn't have the answer. So I spoke to him about it, and he has no answers. He does not know either, but he has also been in communication, as I have, with August Pfluger to try to get answers out of Washington, D.C. Certainly Drew's working with Governor Abbott to try to get answers from the Governor Abbott, since he declared all counties a disaster. We were included in Governor Abbott's disaster declaration. It is President Biden who chose to pick and choose counties out of the state of Texas to not deliver as a part of that emergency declaration. Yes, please.
However, in preparation, I know that Drew Darby said that they'd be having a meeting with the governor. We do want to be prepared, though, to show the estimated damages that we received here as a community. We're asking our citizens to go online to the city's website and fill out an individual assistance form that kind of gives us a breakdown of what their losses have been, our losses. So it's important that we get that information. We need to be able to get up to about $424,000 in order for us to apply later on for that FEMA assistance. So again, it's imperative that we have our citizens go online and fill out that individual assistance form. Again, that's at the city's website.
I'm a fighter. Our city council members are fighters. Our city staff are fighters. Regardless of what President Biden did, does not change the fact that we're going to fight hard for the citizens of San Angelo. We deserve as much as anybody else in the state of Texas does. And just because someone picked and chose us out of the pot doesn't mean that we're not going to fight hard for every dollar, every nickel that we can get to help take care of some of these financial burdens. But I also want to repeat the fact, just because we don't have answers to the dollars right now does not mean we're not going to ask and push TDEM, Texas Department of Emergency Management, for their assistance in getting us what we need. And what we need right now is water, lots of it, and it's got to be bottled, and we got to have it delivered, and we are pursuing that. We are going to get some bottled water here through TDEM. We're going to keep fighting for the citizens of San Angelo. We've got people helping us in this fight, in this battle. Might not be President Biden, but we got a lot of big fighters, strong fighters behind us to make sure that these citizens in San Angelo get what they need, what they deserve.
There was a $121 million investment in the Hickory. How is that? I imagine that's been proven extremely useful at this point.
If we didn't have the Hickory Aquifer right now, we'd be in really, really bad shape. As Allison just talked about, our normal surface water that we have available to us isn't even available to us right now. And it took until 2 days ago, when the power outage was out, that power is managed by Encore, not AEP, and we had a lot of downed lines. We worked with them. They pulled out every stop to get those electrical lines fixed, repaired, and up so we could start pulling in water from the Hickory Aquifer. If we didn't have it right now, we'd be in a much worse scenario than we are right now. That was a great investment. And as I'm sure you all have been following the news, we have sold the Ford Ranch. We have that closure will be in the next 60 days, but that purchase was complete. Thank goodness we have the water, and we were able to protect all of the water of the Hickory Aquifer with those purchases. No one got any access to the Hickory Aquifer.
So this question's for Allison. And as of now, is there an actual percentage of how many San Angelo residents are without water at the moment?
I believe we have that number estimated at about 9,500 homes that are without water from what we can tell. That is just an estimate, and that is based off discussing that with people and the water deliveries that Shane and his crews have been doing, but that is just an estimate. That's not a customer count, I believe that's a home count.
No, well, it includes 1,000 apartment units. So if you took that 1,000 away, it would be 8,500 individual households that look like they're impacted. That's our best guess. What other questions might there be? Billy, do you have anything that you'd like to come and speak towards? And the same thing, Tommy, if you'd like to as well.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just know that there's been an awful lot of hard work and effort that has gone into this past week and a half to try to get San Angelo back to what I guess I will call normal. We have the power restored, as I understand it, but we still have a situation with the water. And it is primarily affecting my district. So, of course, I'm getting a lot of calls and a lot of questions. Most of those questions were answered through the mayor or Allison or Shane Kelton. And I do want to say thank you, Shane, for all you're doing to see that we have bottled water get distributed and non-potable water for flushing, because I do get a lot of calls on that. Allison, thank you for sharing everything that you're doing in trying to keep us going. So I do appreciate all the work, all of the exceptional work that's being done by our city employees in facilitating the efforts to get citizens their water back. There was one thing that I wanted to ask Allison to speak to, and this is an excellent chart, Allison, so thank you for that. But one of the questions that I received was, if things continue as they are right now and we are doing nothing different, then how will we ever get the tanks full? So, what step will it take to fill them up if we do nothing different than what we're doing today?
Thank you, Billy. We do have provisions in our code of ordinances to enact a water demand or water supply emergency if need to, and City Council can take action to close certain businesses as a part of that resolution. And so there are things that if we cannot progress and keep filling tanks, there would be closures and those type of things and restrictions enacted that would be enforceable. Right now, I know that the mayor asked and requested customers to stop using this evening, but they can also take action to enforce customers to stop using water.
Thanks, Allison. Another question that I received was that, there are certain parts of town that have water and have had water this, entire time. Do we have anything in place where the water could rotate between neighborhoods? So, for instance, if District 2, has had water this whole time, is there a method whereby we could, rotate to some district that doesn't have water?
Yes, ma'am. I do understand that trying to describe our system is not an easy process. It's not similar to an electrical grid where we can do rolling, let's say, blackouts of water to different distribution areas. I think Councilman Tom Thompson described it yesterday as an upside-down wedding cake. You've got to fill the bottom layer first before you can get to the second layer. It's similar to that. I can't just jump straight to filling the second layer without having that bottom portion filled. So it does take filling this low plane, filling these tanks before we can keep progressing on. It is a stepped process. We can't jump to step 3 without doing steps 1 and 2. So I understand that is frustrating, that the customers that have had water continue to receive water, and that's why we are preaching and trying to stress to those customers to conserve, because we cannot keep filling these tanks unless we have that bottom tank full.
Thanks, Mayor. Also, I want to express my appreciation, Daniel, Shane, Mayor, Billy, Allison, all the city employees. Thank y'all for everything you've done. This has been, the word has become rather trite now, but it is an unprecedented situation. We have never faced this in San Angelo. I want to be a little bit more direct and specific maybe than what has been. The mayor alluded to some of this, but I want to be a little bit more direct maybe. There are many folks in Billy's and my district that have had no water for almost 5 days. No water. They can't flush their commodes. They can't refill the tanks. That's not to mention anything else that water is used for. So I'm going to be a little more direct here. Please stop flushing after every use if you have water. Stop doing laundry. Stop running your dishwasher if you have one. And the last thing is, and no one likes this, but limit the amount of time you spend bathing if you do that on a regular basis. Please keep these things in mind. We have citizens that do not and have not had water for almost 5 days. It was okay. No, it wasn't okay. That's wrong. They could go out and shovel some snow and melt that and use that to fill their toilets to at least flush the toilet. That has pretty much gone away now because the snow has melted. So please be considerate of your fellow citizens that have had no water whatsoever for almost 5 days. To me, that's almost the least we can do to help our fellow San Angeloans out. The commercial businesses are the ones that are high profile in terms of we drive by, we see those uses, whatever that commercial use may be. But you can see by this right here, 70% of the use comes from residential people. So that's every one of us in this room right now and everyone that is listening. So please do your part to limit the use of water. Everybody's been using the word conserve. Please limit your use of water. Thanks, Mayor.
We also have Tom Thompson here, and I just thought I'd let him come forward in case you have questions for him or comments from him.
Thank you, Brenda. I think it's important that everybody understands we're all going through this together. All right, Allison explained how the water fills up the city, how it goes. We can't blame those that do have water or don't have water. All those things are just how it happens to be with our system. I will tell you that I have seen some of the greatest shows of love and caring from people all over town. And every time I think that I have gone out of my way to do something, I hear somebody else that has topped me 3 or 4 times. I hear stories of people having 3 to 4 families in their houses. What I want to say here from District 2 is we are a strong group. We're a whole city. We're a community. What I like to say for a lot of people in District 2 that do have water wells and have drinkable, potable water, because of your water wells, if you can, offer those to your neighbors to help fill up. All right, try to reduce the load. And tonight, I really want to stress at 9 o'clock, we shut off all water consumption. I have a mother that lives in Highland Range, and she's the very end of the upside-down wedding cake that will get filled. I've been hauling water to her for 3 days, just what it is. And there's a whole community up there that needs help. And if we don't pull together and shut off our water consumption to help them, the results are going to be very bad. But with that, I'll say, I think a lot of these groups have done things that are just outstanding. And it makes you look at times when disasters hit communities, we start to see a little bit different perception of that than what they had before. But with that, Mayor, we're all good.
Are there any further comments or questions? What I would like to do is to go ahead and plan for Monday at 2 p.m., another press conference. I think the more often we can do these right now, the citizens would appreciate it. We might not have more news. It might be the same news. It might be better news. But I appreciate the media for being here and helping us get this information out. The number one thing citizens have asked for is get with the media, get more information out there, get it out more regularly. Sometimes when you're the one communicating, you think you've done it over and over and over again. But the citizens are telling us more is better, and whatever we're doing, more is necessary. So please join us Monday, 2 p.m. here, where we will once again talk about the water crisis, and it is a crisis. Thank you.
Mayor, I did have one more
Yes,
question.
please.
Y'all did mention usage from the Concho River. How much water can actually be taken from the Concho River?
Allison?
Right now, we're pulling about 20 million gallon per day flow rate in from the river, and the rest is all supplied by the Hickory at this time.